spoke at the top of the show about CJ Stroud and the quarterback situation and Will Levis falling. But like, I want to be a little positive here. I want to talk about some of the winners in this draft. We're each going to pick three. We'll go back and forth and start. I graciously, we spoke a little bit about this before the show, gave you the Philadelphia Eagles to start this segment with because
oh my god,
they're so clearly the winners of this draft that
this is the Aaron Paul.
They're one like
they can't keep getting away with this.
Yes. There's like a Empire State Building story gap between them and then the next team that won this draft. But like, what is wrong with everybody else? Can they just stop? Can they stop letting Howie Roseman do this? It's absurd.
Yeah, I really wasn't expecting Jalen Carter to go past Seattle, and I'm not even mad. I actually think that the Seahawks.
I love Devin Witherspoon.
Yeah, the Seahawks
They're another winner of this draft.
The Seahawks are one of my other teams as well. For in terms of winners, but I just the ability for the Eagles to stay put. Did they stay put or did they trade up?
They traded up
So
one.
they traded up one pick from 10 to 9, right?
Yes.
But so to be there, to be at 10 in the first place because of a trade with the Saints already.
No. You're right.
Already.
Traded up with Chicago to get to 9 so that no one else would jump them for Jalen Carter.
But the 10 pick was from the Saints,
exactly.
right? So already be there in the first place, number 10, after literally being in the Super Bowl. And then trading not a whole lot to get up one more pick to get what a lot of people had, many people on their big boards or whatever had as the first or second all around best player in the draft. And just by tape, I mean, of course, all of this is projection. We can't necessarily forecast how these guys are going to play, but also just in terms of we're also just talking fit, scheme, team building to take who is obviously by build and by how he plays on the field the best player in the draft, in my opinion, at least.
He's the best player in the draft.
Is unconscionable.
Well,
and to instantly fill the role that Javon Hargrave left while signing with San Francisco for a percentage of the price, for pennies on the dollar, is absolutely unconscionable. And then to not even move from 30 and have Nolan Smith, high character, high motor, extremely strong while undersized, but it had a little bit of production to back it up on the best defensive front in the entire country.
He's Hassan Reddick 2.0,
exactly.
The guy they already had.
And he's only 20. He's only 21 maybe. I think he is a decently young guy if I'm not mistaken. And then also later in the later rounds, continuing to they got
the other Bulldog.
Continuing to augment
Ringo.
basically that the Eagles are now going to be Georgia Northeast Keely Ringo. It's unbelievable.
One of the best
Smith
college
22,
defenses of all time. Yeah, they got him in the 4th round. It's just so they got Fletcher Cox 2.0 in Jalen Carter. I mean, Cox is like an incredible leader. We have to see if Jalen Carter can leave some of the more diva-ish stuff or some of the off-the-field things that made him drop that far behind. But part of sometimes what exacerbates those situations is when there's tension in the locker room because they're a losing program and a badly run organization. Can't say that about the Eagles. They're going to be in the thick of it. They arguably have the best roster in football, definitely the best in the NFC.
These are just cherries on top, and they were genuinely good picks that make sense with what they're going to be putting out in the field.
Yeah, and then to get
I'm sick about it.
You're not in the division with them.
No, it's true. But you're one of my other winners.
So yeah, I'm gonna go with the Giants as the second winner there.
Love their draft basically top to bottom. Really enjoyed it.
Well, Deonte Banks is, I think, one of the top 3 corners in the draft.
I liked him, honestly, after watching some tape, I actually liked him a lot more than I was, almost to the point where I was surprised at where he was being projected, just because he's so very clearly athletic and he so quickly jams guys. Almost, there was one rep he had, I don't remember exactly who he was playing, where he not only stopped a guy on his route, but actually pushed him back.
No, he's a press man corner.
It reminded me almost of there were reps that George Pickens, the Steelers wide receiver, had last year, where he'd jump off the line and essentially just without even going through his route, push the guy down. I'm like, this is just a really athletic, tenacious, tough guy, and also a massive, massive need for the Giants. Like desperate to fill out that secondary spot aside Adoree Jackson. So it's not just Cordell Flott, Aaron Robinson.
Yeah, well, they have, and
guys
Adoree
like
Jackson's coming up on the last year of his deal that was signed by the old regime. They're not going to do that. I mean, Deonte Banks had one of the best outings versus Marvin Harrison Jr. at Ohio State.
Yes, great point.
I mean, he
Absolutely.
still caught some balls on him, but because he's gonna be a top 5 pick next year. Like Marvin Harrison Jr. is a superstar.
To see anybody have a few plus reps against a guy who honestly in another draft without like Caleb Williams and Drake May, well, obviously we'll see how they play, both quarterbacks, could literally have a case to be drafted first overall about how good of a receiver Marvin Harrison Jr. is.
Yeah, Deonte Banks, I mean, he ran a 4.35. That's a 92nd percentile for a corner, 97th percentile for a vertical jump at the combine, 98th percentile for a broad jump at the combine.
And you can see
he's
it
an
in how
athletic freak.
You can see it in how he moves. He moves so smoothly and just mirrors guys. And I think
I would not be. I mean, I'm a homer. I get it, but I would not be shocked if he's the best corner in this class. Like in terms of, he's bigger than Devin Witherspoon. Is my
yes.
He's a few inches bigger.
He's probably 6 foot he's probably 6 foot and a half, 198. Whereas Witherspoon's 5'10", 5'11", 181. He's a little slighter, but he's just tough.
And Gonzalez is prototypical, but
he's huge.
He doesn't have that fire that Deonte Banks and Devin Witherspoon have.
If looking back on it, I think the potential as to why Gonzalez fell is just because I think people see him more as a finesse corner as opposed to a toughness corner.
He's so mild-mannered.
Yeah.
I mean, that might work in New England, but...
And maybe that's something I almost think can be... I wonder if that can be instilled in him a little bit, especially now when he's on pro competition. But it does help when that's just implicit within somebody.
So, I mean, I think they got a top 3 corner at pick 24. They traded up one spot with the Jaguars. I don't give a shit about the 5th and the 7th round pick that stupid other Giants fans were complaining about.
Which one?
They gave up. They traded up one pick with Jacksonville to get the guy that they wanted.
I don't begrudge them for that.
Yes,
at all.
and then they stayed put at 57 and took John Michael Schmitz, the best center by every estimation.
Yeah, no,
in the draft,
I thought that was
and
a great
huge
pick.
Position of need.
Great pick, position of need.
And then in the 3rd round, they traded up for Jalen Hyatt. He's not a great route runner. He's kind of a straight line speed guy, but the Giants need speed guys.
Totally.
And he's, I think, a top 5 receiver in the draft class. So the Giants got top 5s at every position that they took in the first 3 picks that they got. And so I think that they're a winner.
Schmitz is who I wanted the Jets to take as opposed to Joe Tippmann of Wisconsin, which I'm still not.
Taste.
Which I'm still not. Super
Schmitz
displeased by
stronger.
because Tippmann's athletic, but I think Schmitz is strong. And Schmitz is also, I think, just watching some of his tape, he's very much just like down the fairway, plug and play center. You know what you're getting with him. Tippmann's athletic, but he can get on his ass a little bit more than Schmitz does.
Yeah.
So, I would have rather Schmitz at that pick. So I think it was a great pick for the Giants. And beyond just Hyatt, while slight and while kind of a one-dimensional in terms of, he's got home run speed and he can hit home runs. I mean, this is the guy who had 5 touchdowns against Alabama's defense. So I think, and obviously that's Alabama's defense. It's, he's going to be, we're going to have to see how he can play against bigger corners, that type of thing. But having a slot guy like that, having a speed guy like that, I think it's absolutely worth taking a chance on. And they drafted Eric Gray, the running back from UCLA, in later rounds, who I thought was a great complement to Zach Charbonnet in UCLA's offense, and was also
not that fast, but
just
elusive,
good between,
great hands.
loose, good hands for screen passes, good between the tackles. I think it was a good pick, and I think he could do a great job for them.
Yeah.
Even if he's not necessarily a starting caliber running back, just to have a 3rd down back or a guy between the tackles is a great change of pace.
And they took a high upside corner out of Old Dominion. Joe Shane, love him. Thank you for saving this team from the computer guy, Dave Gettleman. But I could talk about the Giants forever.
Did Joe Shane? This is the one thing I just wanted to ask you because I feel like it might be of a concern. Did Joe Shane even draft a Senior Bowl MVP?
He did not, but who participated in the Senior Bowl?
This draft's gonna suck. No Senior Bowl MVPs. What the hell?
John Michael Schmitz was at the Senior Bowl, but I will say,
okay, you're convincing me.
I will say the fact that you even know The fact that as not a Giants fan, but a Jets fan, that he was that obsessed with the damn Senior Bowl says a lot about Dave Gettleman.
It's classic Gettleman.
It's anyway. All right, we're spending too much time on the Giants. You go to your next
Who
pick.
should I go with next? The Ravens.
Yeah, I thought that's who you had.
Okay, Ravens. The Ravens. It's not even necessarily I kind of just trust the Ravens process in terms of who they draft. I just really, really liked
The Zay Flowers
pick.
He's the best receiver in the draft.
The
Chargers are idiots for not taking him.
I just think because the thing is I'm really mixed on Quentin Johnston in the sense I'm mixed on him in the sense there are things that I really like and things I'm a little nervous about with him. But with Flowers is slight. But what I like about Flowers is he's got like take the top off speed. He's a pretty good route runner. So because of his route running, I could see him maybe being able to work outside of the slot. And yes, he's a size outlier, but this draft were filled with size outliers at every position. So I think this is like there being a size outlier, it happened all over. It's a wash for me in terms of one team took the shortest receiver, one team took the lineman with the smallest arms. It happened all over. I'm not as concerned about it in terms of just like a league-wide thing. Flowers, I think, combined with Odell Beckham Jr., Rashad Bateman, Mark Andrews, and even Nelson Aguilar is kind of a depth piece at receiver for them, as well as Devin Duvernay.
And Lamar coming back. We haven't even covered. He finally got his deal.
And Lamar getting his extension, officially going to be under center for the Ravens.
Let's go.
With Todd Monken at the helm, as opposed to the kind of staid uniform playbook of Greg Roman. I think this is a really good pick just to add a little bit of spice, a little bit of top level speed, a little bit of explosiveness that the Ravens have desperately needed at the wide receiver position specifically.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. And honestly, I mean, I get angry thinking about the Chargers draft because it's just, they could have had Zay Flowers and had a different kind of guy who actually has shiftiness in space and isn't just a big body. I mean, Quentin Johnson, I mean, he's fast, right?
He's fast, but big.
He's way more one-dimensional than Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers could be Antonio Brown. That's his high-level comp.
And with the Johnston thing, the concern a little bit more is he catches to where he's a body catcher more than a hands catcher. He had a few more drops, I would say. But long-legged, big play threat in this, and not necessarily top line speed of sort of like run away from you, but in space can break tackles.
Yep.
And really showed that with TCU through their national championship final run. So honestly, I don't think it'll necessarily be a bad outcome if the Chargers and if Kellen Moore can really make hay with a guy like Quentin Johnston. The matter is, Moore does like routes where kind of it's run and stop.
I know, but
hopefully
that's what
Johnston can take that and actually make something out of it where Mike Williams and Keenan Allen don't really do that.
I guess. But you know who definitely would
Flowers
have?
would do that's Flowers. You'd be adding a component that they just don't have.
It's like they think that they have Tua or not even Tua, but it's like they think,
or like if they have like Baker Mayfield, as if they have a guy who can't create the way Justin Herbert can create.
Herbert can stretch the field maybe better than any quarterback in the league with his arm strength.
Absolutely.
What are we doing?
No, I agree, and that's partially why, as much as I'm okay, just the fact that the Chargers literally picked a wide receiver. I think a guy in the vein of Jackson Smith-Njigba, obviously he wasn't available,
or him,
because the Seahawks took him. But Flowers, Jordan Addison out of USC. I think either of them would have made a little bit more sense just to give them a real, just genuine top line speed.
I'm not a huge Addison person. I found that pick to be perplexing by the Vikings, who had the worst defense in the NFL by like every metric last year. Why you're taking a number 2 receiver in the first round is beyond me. But we can get to that in a little bit.
But so overall, I mean, other than that, honestly, the Ravens took Trenton Simpson, a linebacker out of Clemson in round 3. He's a little bit of an athletic project, sort of like an Isaiah Simmons type linebacker, good traits, rangy, sort of the positionless type of guy. If anyone can make that kind of guy work, they sort of did that with Kyle Hamilton. I think they could do it as well. But other than that, not a whole lot to really get into, at least from my perspective.
But the Ravens win every draft.
But just they know how to scout, they know what they like, and I think Zay Flowers is going to be a really good addition for this new Lamar Jackson Jackson-led, Todd Monken-led offense.
Absolutely. I'm going with the Raiders for my second pick. I thought that they got the best pass rusher in the draft. Foot issues aside, Tyree Wilson, much more of the guy that I would kind of draft as opposed to the safer pick in Will Anderson. I always try to go for upside, I think. Tyree Wilson, look, he played at Texas Tech. That's what probably gives people some sort of pause. But he's like Trayvon Walker.
But you see what this guy looks like.
The potential is way greater than Will Anderson. It's not even a question.
He's got arms down to his ankles.
The
length is unbelievable.
Just from a physical, have Will Anderson stand next to Tyree Wilson, and then let's have a conversation.
Yeah.
Like, Tyree Wilson has the potential to be a top-tier pass rusher in this league. And then the Raiders get who they, I think, might have even wanted to target. Well, some people said that like later some teams could trade up into the first round to get one of these tight ends, but Michael Mayer, definitely top 3 tight end in the draft for
honestly,
sure.
Honestly,
top
I
2.
was gonna say there were some people that I think honestly because not only the athleticism at the catch point that he has, as well as his blocking skills, could have seen him as a little bit higher than Dalton Kincaid out of Utah, because Kincaid is not as decisive as a blocker, just a much better pass catcher, maybe the best pass catcher in this draft. But Mayer in the second round to the Raiders, who especially, of course, after trading Darren Waller to the Giants, were desperately in need of another tight end. So good, definitely a good pick for them.
Yeah, they needed that, and I mean he can block. He's exactly the kind of prototypical guy that a New England style offense wants. And I mean, honestly, the fact that they were able to get a big body, Brian Young out of Alabama in the third round as well, when they need some run stopping on that defense, is huge for me. So I think they got top 2 players at 2 position groups in Michael Mayer and Tyree Wilson. Definitely, obviously, it's Will Anderson, Tyree Wilson. Most people think are the 2 top defensive ends, edge players in the draft, and Michael Mayer and Dalton Kincaid. And Mayer doesn't have the back issues that made Kincaid fall a little bit to the Bills. So
right.
Raiders, they're my other winner.
And if Tyree Wilson is in a lot of this, obviously we talk about is situational, in terms of where these guys are getting placed and how they can grow, given whether it's the coaching staff, whether it's the scheme, whether it's how they progress physically, or those types of things. So having Patrick Graham with a guy like this, I think it'll be great. I think it'll be a super beneficial to a guy like Tyree Wilson.
Graham.
And speaking of also Giants, I forgot to mention this, that a rangy, athletic, tenacious cornerback. I don't think another guy, maybe this side of Devin Witherspoon, would be better for Deonte Banks than Wink Martindale.
Well done, too.
So there. I think it's a lot of this
Good
is also contextual, and I think it's a good context for Tyree Wilson to enter into at any rate.
All right, your third pick. Third winner.
I thought the Colts had an absolutely fantastic draft. They did exactly what I wanted them to. In terms of from my perspective, I'm super pleased with everything that they did, and I think they really retooled and also obviously gained significant ground in positions that they absolutely needed to. And sort of with of course the headline pick being Anthony Richardson at 4, quarterback out of Florida. I thought it was a fantastic pick just because of the upside, the traits that are there. I think I think him and Kentucky quarterback Will Levis had been a little bit placed together, but honestly, I think in terms of traits, but also in terms of processing and in terms of even pre-snap understanding, eyes, like ball positioning, I think regardless of the inexperience, regardless of how kind of bad the skill position players were at Florida, Richardson has a higher ceiling in my view than Levis does for sure. And
he started for less, so that he's much more moldable.
And he's
Levis.
definitely more and I think he's definitely more moldable. And he does seem to be a pretty, just obviously intangible stuff. He seems like a high character guy. Seems like a very well liked guy.
Did you see, just as an aside, his little brother has the same haircut with him as him? It was, first of all, everyone was focusing on how deep his voice was.
Unbelievably deep voice. I couldn't believe it.
I mean, so does his
they both
brother.
Do.
Baritone.
Basically doesn't register on the mics.
And his brother's 13, has the same hair with the same blonde tip.
Is he
and
really
says
that young?
He's my hero. I mean, I was like on the verge of tears watching
so sweet.
it. I'm a big Anthony Richards fan already, and it's so cool that the Colts don't have like old white guy pocket passer behind center now. I mean, that's exciting. That's a deviation for this franchise.
Not only that, what I appreciate too is that this franchise got off the veteran middling contract carousel from hell.
Yeah.
With their quarterback position, Carson, Phillip Rivers after Andrew Luck retired, Phillip Rivers, Carson Wentz, Matt Ryan. Like, finally, they can actually start over, build a foundation with a young quarterback on a friendly contract, and a guy who is extremely skilled, has a high ceiling, definitely raw, definitely needs some composition, definitely needs some development and refinement. But he also isn't necessarily in any great pressure to start
Yeah.
because Gardner Minshew's there and can kind of hold it down until Anthony Richardson is ready, which may be sooner than later, but we'll see. And at least they have a contingency plan there as well. But I'm even also just as excited by some of their other picks. I'm
You like Josh Downs from North Carolina?
I'm looking them.
Well, can I say one
Yes,
that I'm excited about?
Because I can't pronounce this guy's name.
They got Blake Freeland in the 4th round, who was projected to go a little bit higher. He's an offensive tackle out of BYU. He needs to put on weight, but his athletic profile, first of all, he's high character team captain. His athletic profile is off. I mean, a lot of guys think that he could turn into a starter if he just gets a little bit more muscle on him. So to get a potential starter at the tackle position in the 4th round is pretty insane.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I'm now interested to watch a little bit of Blake Freeland. My tape watching doesn't stop after the.
Oh,
the
no,
draft
it does not.
But Julius Brents in the second. Julius Brents in the 2nd round, cornerback out of Kansas State. High energy guy, crafty guy. I think a little bit of a project, but I think absolutely someone you'd want to bet on, or at least try to mold, especially given how bare the cupboard was after at the cornerback position. And now that Stephon Gilmore also is no longer on the team either. Josh Downs, as you said, wide receiver out of North Carolina, really exciting player. Honestly, a guy who I could have seen going earlier than the 3rd round, and someone who I think could definitely add a little bit of a change of pace from their sort of taller, stiff, stationary pass catchers like Michael Pittman Jr. and Alec Pierce. So excited to see what they can do with Josh Downs. And then my favorite pick, which I cannot believe this guy made it all the way to the 4th round. Adetomiwa Adebawore, the defensive lineman from Northwestern. He's basically a traits guy entirely.
I don't know him.
In the sense that he is an unbelievable athlete. Can jump out of the gym super fast, great, but a little slightly undersized and not a whole lot of production. But if this guy can be molded, he might be an absolute steal in the 4th round. I thought he was going to go. I thought it was possible he could go in the 1st round. I can't believe he made it to the 4th round.
Wow.
So I thought that was an amazing pick. And then similar thing in terms of betting on upside, Darius Rush, the cornerback out of South Carolina. Really, really aggressive player, really dynamic player. A little bit handsy, a little bit, needs to refine, not reaching for guys, grabbing jerseys, grabbing face masks, to not, scale back on the penalties a little bit. But a lot of guys that I think they could totally bet on, and they picked 12 times. That's even that, to me, having that many picks, having that many bites at the apple. That's all you want when you're drafting for a team that has a lot of needs and has a lot of places to build on. And I think they're doing it with a lot of high upside players. So I'm super, super thrilled with what the Colts did.
I mean, that's a Chris Ballard special. Lots of picks, right?
100%.
Speaking of a team that has a lot of picks, my last winner will be the Seattle Seahawks. I mean, maybe I should have started with them here. They got the best corner in the draft for my money.
Oh, amazing 1st round.
Devin Witherspoon, total psycho in like a great way.
Which is that's I think
Pete Carroll's salivating.
Yeah, Danny Kelly at the Ringer in his draft guide literally was like, Witherspoon is in the nicest way, in the best way possible, a maniac.
Yeah,
he's a heat-seeking missile in tackles. He just wants to take the helmet off of the guy he's tackling. That's his mindset.
And they got so they definitely 100% got a top 2 player at their position at pick 5. Then at pick 20, they just stayed put and took the first wide receiver, Jackson Smith-Njigba. Now,
absolute no-brainer. Amazing wide receiver.
I mean, I would have taken Zay Flowers, but because of Njigba's kind of weird hamstring stuff.
Gotcha.
But
yeah.
But I mean,
sense.
he's great, and the point is that they're not going to need him to do too much. A team that doesn't have a receiver might need him to play on the outside or something like that. But they have DK Metcalf. and then he can just play in the slot and just show off what he does best in that position.
And to pair with Tyler Lockett, I just think is such a nice pairing.
Yeah,
they can both.
I can't believe Lockett is still as productive as he is.
And they can go inside out, sort of both. They can sort of do dueling out breaking routes, dueling in breaking routes when they go mesh. Like, I just think it's an amazing combination of traits and players for the Seahawks at their wide receiving core after re-signing Geno Smith to a big deal, still having rookie of the year or offensive rookie of the year candidate Kenneth Walker in the fold. He'll be back healthy this upcoming season. The defense looking a little bit better now that signed Draymond Jones for the interior. Probably need a few more pieces on the defensive line, but cornerback looking now like a wild combination of Tariq Woolen and Devin Witherspoon, two super athletic guys on opposite ends of the height and weight spectrum. But so, which to me, I honestly think is even interesting to see that, in the sense that you'll have two guys who give you very different flavors, and young in the secondary, to combine with Kobe Bryant, who they also got in the later rounds last year. I just think that the Seahawks did such a good job of retooling and not rebuilding these last few seasons, and I think they're going to only be more competitive now that they've done what they've done.
Absolutely. And I'm glad they didn't take a quarterback, because honestly, I just think they need to ride with Geno Smith and see where it goes. He played well enough. I know people he's not a big name, sexy pick that gets to the top of people's minds, but he played really well last year. He played ballsy football, and he deserves a much more of a leash than was being described in the media, with them potentially taking Anthony Richardson at 5. I'm just glad that they did not. So, and then they took Derek Hall out of Auburn.
Yes, which was another pick that I really liked.
Yeah, they're definitely going to be able to work well in that system. That's one of the Denver picks. And then they took the UCLA running back Charbonnet. So another complimentary piece to Kenneth Walker, who might be the best running back in football next year.
And Charbonnet is a little
if
bit,
he can stay healthy.
And Charbonnet is a little bit more of a finesse back in that he's not as much as a violent bruiser as Walker is, but which I think is going to be great for them to be able to toggle in and out of them, and especially now that Rashad Penny's on the Eagles, to have another guy in the backfield there, I think is really, really great. And it being Charbonnet, I think, was a great piece for them. That UCLA backfield between Charbonnet and Eric Gray is really a good watch. So it'll be exciting
Eric
to see
Gray
those
played
two
at
guys.
Oklahoma.
Oh, sorry, not who was I thinking that he was backing up? Not UCLA. Wait, was it Roshan Johnson? The other. I'll think of it.
I can't remember off the top of my head here. Gosh, Twitter sucks. Twitter doesn't work. It keeps signing me out.
For some reason I thought he backed up somebody, but I might have been thinking of somebody else.
I wish.
But Charbonnet is a great pick.
Wish very bad things on Elon Musk. Stop signing me out of my account. My account has already been logged on. Okay, well then, it's just, whatever. Honorable mention to just some other teams there. The Steelers, I thought, did really well. They got one of the top 2-3 tackles in the draft in Broderick Jones, which was a desperate need for them. And they got a top 5 corner in Joey Porter, who also, his dad, Joey Porter Sr.
Oh, yeah, that's fun. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Totally.
Drafted by the Steelers as well. And then they got the insane, injury concern for Darnell Washington. How can he hold up? But they got Darnell Washington out of Georgia, who is just a mauler, almost like an offensive lineman playing tight end. So that's really fun. The Steelers are always amazing at that. And I like the Bengals draft. Miles Murphy is a high floor defensive end out of Clemson.
And just perfect for their scheme.
Exactly. And DJ Turner is my dude. I mean, DJ Turner is underrated because he got burned in the game between Michigan and Ohio State by Marvin Harrison Jr. Doesn't mean that he's not a good corner. He broke records in terms of his speed. He's a little undersized,
but super athletic.
But hey,
athletic.
Say the Chiefs. This is why this is a great pick by the Bengals.
Yeah.
Say the Chiefs and the Bengals are in the AFC Championship game. They are going to have speedier receivers on the Chiefs and DJ Turner or because I honestly, when I started that sentence, I was thinking about Tyreek Hill, but he's on the Dolphins. But he can run with Tyreek Hill. He's a modern undersized corner, but with incredible speed, who can run with those guys.
And as we're seeing with the size composition of most of 3 of the 4 receivers in that 4 receiver run in the first round. Speed is at a premium, and size comparisons are getting a little bit smaller. So if you're a cornerback, even if you're a big guy, you're gonna most likely in certain situations have to be running with guys who have 4.3, 4.2 to 4.4 speed.
Exactly.
So it's crucial to have a guy like that who can run with guys like that, who are not just slot receivers, but also explosive guys who you have to give a lot of run so you can let them, eat up as much grass as they can before you stop them. So
Right.
if a guy like that has to be able to kind of hang with the Tyreek Hills, Jalen Waddles of the world.
100%. So I'll just say I did not like what the Lions did. Trading
Lions
up
had an
for a
absolutely
running
terrible
back.
draft, in my opinion.
Why would they take an off-ball linebacker?
They just said positional value be damned. Screw it.
The linebacking
I couldn't understand.
core was supposed to be especially weak this year too, and he wasn't even the top linebacker in the
No,
class.
that's what I was. So both things confused me because the Jahmyr Gibbs. It's not even. I like Jim. I think Jahmyr Gibbs is a good player, and he
could be a first round, I would say, end of the first round running back. But him and Bijan Robinson definitely the top 2 running backs in the class.
he's a good player, and he's a great screen pass catching running back. So I think he'll honestly be a great fit for the Lions offense. But at the same time, like.
Guys,
There were if they could have taken Nolan Smith, they could have taken Christian Gonzalez. I couldn't believe they didn't take Christian Gonzalez. That team is a very, very weak secondary. And listen, their linebacking core is not that great. They only really re-signed Alex Anzalone, who is not the greatest linebacker to begin with. But at the same time, Jack Campbell and Drew Sanders out of Arkansas, the number 1 linebacker probably in this draft, would have been available. They didn't need to take him.
Look, I really like that they did take Hendon Hooker, who I think
was a good pick.
He's going to be a red shirt year because he's recovering from that ACL tear. Which, speaking of like high character, high processing, great student. I mean, that offense in Tennessee was shitty and ticky tack, but it was like
Tecmo football,
total air raid nonsense. But like, so it's hard to discern what it's going to look like in the NFL, but. He seems like a great kid, and I mean, God, he's like almost our age. He seems like a great guy, and so he's gonna do everything right. It's just like,
totally.
Can he run a pro offense? Because that offense in Tennessee was not a pro offense.
And there's no pressure for him. Goff has played really well last season in that offense. He's super capable. He'll definitely be back out there in week 1, which in my opinion, I don't necessarily think there's going to be a lot of clamoring for Hendon Hooker to start. So I think it'll also be great for him to just sit back and watch this offense work and get accustomed and acclimated to an NFL, a real NFL offense. We're not where your 4 receivers aren't going out 4 verts every time, running slants 80 yards down the field.
So spread out, yeah. I mean, and also obviously the 49ers and the Dolphins lost the draft, but that's almost lazy to say because they had no picks. And the Broncos,
exactly right.
But the Broncos actually did better than say those other 2 teams because like the Broncos had some value picks. What are the Niners doing taking a kicker? What was it in the 3rd round?
And did they trade for him too or something? Trade up a pick? There was something I was like, what the hell?
I love Kyle Shanahan. I don't know if I love John Lynch because I hated that Trey Lance pick at the time. And hold on, everyone watching, I was right. I was right about Trey Lance. Okay, I was right about Trey Lance. I don't want to hear shit about this anymore. He's not ready as a professional quarterback. He does not have good touch on his balls. He is not a professional passer in the NFL. I was right about him, and it's bearing fruit. They're trying to trade him, and he's apparently the 3rd string quarterback on the team behind Sam Darnold and Brock Purdy. So give me a break here. But there are some questionable decisions made by John Lynch.
I would
in the draft.
Yeah, I hear you, and I would just like to qualify. That about the Lions that they did draft Brian Branch in the 2nd round, which I did like as a pick for them, and at safety out of Alabama,
right.
And also the additions of CGJ, Chauncey Gardner Johnson, and
helps their secondary.
Would definitely help their secondary, but it's more the purely. It's not even that I don't even like Gibbs or Campbell as players. It's more just who was on the board / positional value. I just think they were definitely both pretty either, with Gibbs kind of a luxury pick for a team that probably had other needs, and then for Campbell just an overreach. But yeah, I see what you're saying in the sense that I think that it's sometimes hard to know where like Shanahan begins and Lynch ends, in the sense like who's really kind of steering the ship or driving the car personnel wise. But there are sometimes things like that. I hope that this doesn't continue too much. It's obviously, I don't think it's going to be said an enormous deal if they pick this kicker. Obviously, I don't think it's
punter,
going to
place kicker, or I don't know.
I don't think it's going to move the needle.
Jake Moody.
I don't think it's going to move the needle that far either way. I just hope there doesn't become this sort of like, kind of like self-fulfilling, self-serving, like galaxy brain, like we're like, we're finding an inefficiency in the market where we'll get this kicker, where it's like, you don't need to do that, man. Like you get a kicker off the scrap heap, it'll probably be fine for you.
Yeah,
there's no you're not I don't think you're necessarily exploiting anything by picking a kicker in the third.
They're always big braining there in San Francisco sometimes with the draft, and it has not panned out recently, gotta say. And you have a generational roster in many ways and play caller, and I just think that sometimes the drafting really does a disservice. But with that said, we're gonna read some of my ends, and then we're gonna get the hell out of here. How about
and the
that?
Eagles got DeAndre Swift too, by the way, which I'm
I know,
sorry.
whatever.
Sorry, just wanted to.
Well,
forgot to add that in my.
Do you know he's a Philly native? He's
yeah.
probably excited. Yeah,
you're right. I don't know if you saw it recently, because his dad is absolutely one of the most bricked up guys I've ever seen in my life. He's enormous. He's so jacked. If you haven't seen it, you should watch his commitment video to Georgia. It's amazing.
Okay.
He runs up and down the Philly steps, and he rides through the streets of Philly in like these like Sons of Anarchy like crazy motorcycles. It's fucking awesome. So welcome back, DeAndre Swift.
Welcome back.